by putting the food directly into these bins, I'm saving myself time that I can use elsewhere in the garden. Compost is an essential component to a healthy garden. Today I want to show you 4 ways that we compost for little to no cost, one of which is new to us this year, which is worm composting. So the first way we compost, and all of this is DIY, didn't cost us anything, it was just stuff we had lying around, is using some fence posts and some leftover fencing to create 3 separate bins. Now you can make your compost pile whatever size you want, but the general rule of thumb is you want to make it 3 foot high by 3 foot wide by 3 foot deep. One bin that I do is just strictly fresh grass clippings and the shredded leaves. This breaks down real fast, and I love putting this cardboard around the outside of it to help hold it in. And then this is kind of more of our catch-all area that we'll have. You'll see in here shredded paper, it'll have some leaves, it'll have some of the cuttings from the garden as well as some vegetable scraps. But if you pan down on this one here, you'll see as we kind of create these layers here of greens and browns, and then as you look down here way at the bottom, this is where you can see that we're really getting the compost to start to form. And the last area here is once this all composts down, I'll store our compost over here for when we need to use it. And I still have a little bit left over, but you can see there's the end result of that compost that we got to break down. What I like about these round bins here is that I can easily just lift these bins up when I want to get to the compost. Second method that we do composting is with our leaves. In the fall we'll come and we will shred all of our leaves and it will fill this entire bin here. Now this bin, once again, another DIY bin of leftover scraps using some posts and some of this fencing that we have. It's 3 feet high. It's probably about 8 feet, 9 feet long and 5 feet wide. You don't need it to be that large, but we've got a lot of trees out here, so we definitely can fill this up. In fact, I'll show a picture of it from December time. This was way up here. I did do a video on how to make leaf mold and leaf mulch, and I'll put that here up on the screen for you to take a look at. But the thing we love about using these leaves for is, one, with our raised beds, we'll use just this leaf mulch to cover our beds, which will help hold the moisture in, and also this will break down pretty quick. We'll only probably put down about a ½ inch layer at most at a time, but we have to do that about once every month, month and a half or so to replenish it because it breaks down that fast. But the number one thing that you want to get out of this leaves, and most of that right now is going to be down here at the bottom, is what is called leaf mold. And if you look down here, we're just starting to get some of it. And that's where those leaves have broken down tremendously. And it's almost essentially dirt, or it really is a compost. So we will apply this as a top dressing over our beds in the wintertime, and it's a great benefit for all of our raised beds. Our third method of composting is using wood chips. Now we have wood chips that we get from our arborist, and we have wood chips that we make on our own. We use them in the pathways and around the trees and berries in our garden. Now, we will lay that probably about 3 to 4 inches thick every year, and it will constantly decompose. Now, our soil is not that great around here. It's a very heavy clay soil. And in the 3 to 4 years that we've been using wood chips, we've noticed a tremendous difference in how much better that soil is doing. These are wood chips that we break down on our own. And just to compare them, those are the wood chips I get from the arborist. Those are the wood chips that we make with our shredder. Now those small wood chips, I will put probably about a ½ inch at the bottom of our grow bags. That will help hold moisture in those grow bags, but by the end of the growing season, those small wood chips have decomposed into the soil, and those nutrients have helped that plant to grow, especially with our sweet potatoes and our regular potatoes. This is about 2 years old here, and as you can see, in just 2 years, how much this has just broken down tremendously. Now while it's a little compacted, this is typical soil that we have in our area. It's pretty hard as a rock. that's your red clay for you. Let me show you what it's like after putting wood chips down for a few years. There you can see I can still get down to the clay soil. I'm probably about 3 inches deep right now. And that soil's a heck of a lot better than it was a few years ago. Now our final way that we're composting, and it's new to us this year, is what's called worm composting or vermicomposting. Now this here is a Vigo worm composting bin that I got as a gift, but I have made 10 other DIY bins that we're using in our garden, but it's easiest to probably show you on this what it is we do and the benefits we're getting from it. So about once a week I'll come out here and I'll have to put some new shredded paper in as well as some food in here for them to eat that's underneath here. But if I just dig down a little bit, you're probably going to see a whole bunch of worms there. And those worms will keep going in and out. As you'll see, maybe around the sides here we got these holes that are in this bin. These worms will travel all throughout this bed, aerate the soil for us, which is fantastic, and provide great nutrients to the entire bed. All I've got to do is just feed them and then honestly give them this shredded paper to act as bedding. Another benefit we get out of it is all that dark dirt right there is what's called worm castings, which is just a fancy word for worm poop. And this stuff here is fantastic for your soil. And probably only started with about maybe 100 worms in this bin, and it's got to be triple if not more that already by now. While that bin was a gift to us, we did create some DIY ones. And I'm going to do a video on that sometime in the fall because we're experimenting with a few different size containers as well as different size holes in those containers, and we're already noticing a tremendous difference in all of them. One thing I like the most about these worm bins is that I am not bringing the food out to the compost pile, then waiting for it to decompose to then bring it back over to the raised beds. I just simply put the food in here, the worms do the work, they move all around this raised bed, fertilizing it for me, aerating it for me. By putting the food directly into these bins, I'm saving myself time that I can use elsewhere in the garden. So let me go show you a few of the bins right now that we've got going on. Here's one of the bins that we ended up picking up at the dollar store. This is a water pitcher. I've got this idea, I think it was Robbie and Gary's channel. They had a whole bunch on these, which was real interesting. But if you look here, I'm just going to scoop away a little bit and you can start to see some of the worms in there. Yep. They're little guys. They're all doing a good job here of helping feed the soil. Another example here, this one is holding some of Daisy's dog treats in it. Got some different size holes on the sides of that one, but here you can see once again there's your worms all starting to go through, and they're kind of digging. You got to kind of pull them apart, but they really like to hang out together, and they're working on that food pretty good. And then this final one that I'm working with, this is just a plastic coffee container. Same thing. It's got plenty of worms doing their thing. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you got any questions or suggestions, please put them down in the comment section below, and we'll see you on the next video.